So, when I ask, what is Odoo? What comes to mind? Well, Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a suite of business management software that some people say is like fertilizer because of the way it promotes growth. But some people also say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. But then again, you could look at Odoo in terms of how its individual software programs are a lot like building blocks. I mean, whatever your business needs, manufacturing, accounting, HR programs, you can build a custom software suite that's perfect for your company. So, what is Odoo? Well, I guess Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a fertilizer, magic beanstalk building blocks for business. Yeah, that's it. Which means that Odoo is exactly what every business needs. Learn more and sign up now at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Before we go any further, I want to pause and speak directly to anyone listening who may be struggling. The holidays can be heavy, especially when you're dealing with job loss, depression, or the pressure to give when you don't have it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, please know you are not alone and help is available right now. You can text or call 988 to connect with the Suicide Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and available 24/7. You can also text HOME to 741-741 to reach the crisis text line. For broader mental health support, call 1-800-662-HELP 4357. The SHAM HSA helpline are 1-800-950-NAMI 6241 for the NAMI helpline. If you're a veteran, dial 688 and press 1 to connect with the Veterans Crisis Line. And for LGBTQ+, the Trevor Project is here at 1-866-488-7386 or by texting START to 678-678. Please, if the weight feels too heavy, reach out. These lifelines are here to remind you that you don't have to carry it alone. Welcome to the Black Women Will Save Black Women podcast, the podcast where we support, amplify, validate, and elevate Black women always. I'm your host, Kamika Dillard, and this is our sanctuary. We have a very special episode today. If you have been really trying to figure out like your mental health in this space, this is the episode for you. We're still going to do like the normal portions of the episode, but we really, really want us to like take a beat from like how I might normally be during the episode and really listen, to get information, listen for clarity, because this is super important, because mental health is important. And as Black women, I don't think we talk about it enough. So I want to start with this week's Fail Forward file. I am bringing a blast from the past for this Fail Forward file. I want to talk about my own mental health and part of the reason why I'm so adamant about mental health, especially in the realm of job loss, dealing with any type of financial anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. So I remember when I lived in Atlanta and I had lost my job for the second time, my second time losing my big girl job. And I was just so upset. I was so brokenhearted. And I actually isolated quite a bit and began to question a lot of my worth and did not allow people in. And in fact, that isolation cost me some really valuable friendships because I didn't communicate at all. Like they knew I had lost my job, but in terms of the seriousness of like where my head was mentally, I wasn't clear in allowing people to know where I was at. I was just at a really low point. My thoughts were very dark. I considered harming myself. I consider just the worst of the worst, feeling like I didn't deserve to be here. And it was just really low. And I had to really dig in deep and ask for the help that I needed. So that required me, going re-rack and rolling into therapy because I had stopped going. I re-enrolled into therapy. I really kind of dug into trying to get the help that I needed to get past this dark period. And the reason why this was a failure specifically is because I let shame and silence take the wheel. I didn't give my community a chance to show up for me, and I didn't give myself permission to be vulnerable. What I learned is that isolation feels safe in the moment, but it robs us of connection, healing, and perspective. Failing forward means I carry that lesson now. When loss comes, I don't retreat. I reach out. I let people in. Because the truth is, we don't heal alone, we heal together. And that is this week's Fail Forward bio. All right, let's get into today's guest. Dr. Loren M. Hill. Loren, who's my line sister, she's actually my back, is a licensed clinical psychologist, coach, and consultant with 30 plus years in mental health and higher education. Founder of Acclivity and host of Your Strategist is In podcast, she's known for her expertise in assessment, positive psychology, diversity, and trauma, and for empowering Black women and first-generation professionals to thrive in high-pressure environments. Let's welcome to the sanctuary, Dr. Loren M. Hill.
Thank you, Kamika.
How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me and thanks for asking.
Thank you. So I want to kind of level set why we are having this conversation today. And I'm smiling, but it was also very traumatic. So as a lot of folks know, I've been interviewing lots of women. I put myself out there to go reach out to try to help women and give them a space to be in this space particularly. So during one of my intake calls, I had a potential guest who we're not going to have on the show talk to me about how she has tried to kill herself and how she potentially might try again. And I was just in a real state of shock because, one, I had never, I think, had someone be so open with me about where they were mentally. And it scared me. Now, I've had a lot of people tell me all their business. Listen, I'm vulnerable. People will be like, oh, she vulnerable. Let me tell all the business. But never from that perspective. And I panicked. I got off the phone with her and I called Loren immediately. I don't even think I would say, girl, you got time to talk? No, I picked up the phone and was like, I need to talk to you ASAP about this call that I had and how I'm feeling. And Loren gave me some really great advice to give to that person. And I walked away and I was like, we got to do an episode to address that, especially during this holiday season where people are struggling. People are struggling mentally. People are struggling financially. And I'm sure you know the statistics around suicide around the holidays, suicide after job loss. I don't know all those numbers, but they're significant. And because so many Black women have been impacted, I really wanted to bring Loren on to talk through that. So that's how we kind of arrived to this moment. I want to kind of start with our first question is, centered around the season that we're in. The holidays are often painted as very joyful, but many of us in the season feel really heavy, especially when dealing with job loss, financial strain, or loneliness. What type of strategies or how do you kind of address this from a therapist or a psychologist perspective? I want to make sure, I'm looking at it holistically or a coach perspective, but what do you normally tell people who are dealing in this season?
So, if I could just take a step back
Awesome.
to something that you mentioned in your file, right, about how you were previously let go at a big girl position, and your immediate response to that was to withdraw, to isolate, right? And I think that that is very interesting to me from how we survive as humans, right? A survival instinct is both to take all your resources in, even physiologically, right? When you're under threat, everything goes to your core to make sure that your primary organs are working correctly, right? From a mental perspective, it's like, oh, I need to go in and figure out what's going on. So, on one side of the coin, we have, yes, you should go in to try to self reflect. But then the other side is when it becomes dangerous, is when you just completely withdraw, right? So having a moment of introspection, like, okay, I was let go. This was unexpected. I was terminated, downsized, whatever, right? What am I supposed to do next, right? It is a point of crisis. And how do you address crisis? So that's one piece of it. The other piece becomes compounded when there's these, narratives about what should be going on during the holidays, right? My mom loves the Hallmark Channel, right? Christmas, this, that, and the other is so manufactured and is so um, comforting to some people to think about this fantasy of what the holidays are, right? That you're around family, loved ones, gifts, giving. And okay, is that how life really is when we think about it?
Mhm.
Because year over year, I've worked with people, and I'm always happy to come in during the holiday season because it gets a little precarious, right? So people think, oh, I got to buy all these gifts, or I got to show up with some type of dish, or I have to perform. I have to show up and I have to perform. And it is exhausting. So some of the strategies that I talk to people about are, one, if something has happened and put you in a crisis, like you were just laid off from your job, it's okay to go in and have some time to be introspective. It's not okay to completely withdraw and disconnect, because we get into this mindset of doom and gloom. Everything's wrong. What did I do? How come I'm not good enough? They must hate me, this, that, and the other. And it's this negative loop of conversation that we have within ourselves, because we think that on some level, on many levels, we're inadequate, right? So if we're inadequate because we've been let go of a job, how can we possibly show up to a holiday dinner and put on a face and feel good about ourselves? Because somebody's going to notice that I'm inadequate. So there's a lot to unpack around job loss, financial strain, things that are just going on in this climate right now for Black women. And then on top of that, it's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year. And it is absolutely not always the most wonderful time of the year.
I think as Black women, we are used to putting others before ourselves. So I know that we say don't do that, and part of the podcast is around you got to save yourself
That's
first
right.
before you save anyone else. How do we take the mask off? Because I think what's happening, because a lot of people been laid off, since the beginning of the year throughout the year. Like my layoff happened in July, right? So from the outside looking in, people might think, oh, you should be over it by now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, no, you shouldn't be, right? And I will say that time and time again. And I think part of what I do, not so much as a psychologist, but a little more in the coaching consulting hat, is call a thing, right? Let's not act like this wasn't a big deal. Let's not act like stuff is falling apart. I was about to say something else, sorry.
Oh,
But
you can.
so let's not act like things are not good for us. Let's not act like we're not okay. We need to be fine with saying, I'm hurting right now. And because we've been, one, conditioned to be strong or show up or have our cape or have, or, all of this stuff from society that's been conditioned. But then there's all these, stereotypes about Black women and our capacity to care for everybody. And nobody even thinks what the cost of that is. So emotional, physical, I often remind people or inform people that the World Health Organization says without mental health, there is no health.
Mm.
So you have to have mind and body strength. And you can't have that if you're tapped out because you're taking care of everybody else. So one of the two strategies, right? We've heard this every time we've been on an airplane,
Yep.
right? And if you've never been on an airplane, it doesn't matter because people will say it anyway. You have to put your mask, your oxygen mask on yourself first before you try to save someone else. The whole reason that that is given as an instruction is because oftentimes parents will try to save their child before they try to save themselves. So you can put the oxygen mask on your child, but then if you aren't there to take care of the child, what's going to happen? So simply putting it on first for yourself and then putting it on your child ensures that you will both survive. So you want to take your, mask, your oxygen mask, whatever that might be, take some deep breaths and then think about how to move forward. Now, that's one thing. Save yourself first before you try to save anybody else. The other thing that I work with women particularly on is helping them to change the way in which they say yes. So part of what we do often is we just say yes because that's what you're supposed to do, right? As a woman, as a girl, you don't say no. Even, in the Black community, you can't say no to your parents. So we start that way. But then you grow up, right? So you end up saying yes to a whole bunch of stuff that you're overcommitted. Some of it you don't even want to do, right? So part of what I help women do is think about how to respond. And that's somewhere to start. So if someone asks you something, think about it in this way. When do you need an answer? And let them tell you when they need the answer. And then, short of the house is burning down, so we don't have time to think right now, right? You can respond in one of three ways. You can say yes. And usually the yes is something that really resonates with you, sort of makes your soul stir, if you will. Like, I would have asked you to do it had you not asked me to do it. The next one is maybe, right? I don't know. It could go either way, but I might need a little more information. No is I know I don't have the bandwidth for this. I don't want to do it. Why are you asking me? So you have three options. You can say yes, no, or maybe. And those three answers don't have to be said in the moment. So this is a way to sort of recondition yourself around your commitments, whether you're working or not, right? It's a way to take control of your time and even give you a voice. So putting your mask on first, understanding how to respond to commitments, those are two things that I think we should really get, in our core.
I think what I love about you in particular, and you've taught me this since I've known you, is the pause. Let's just wait. I'm not going to give you an answer right now. Like I want us to hone in on that particular statement because it might be glossed over in the yes, no, maybe, but I love the fact you frame it to say, when do you need an answer? Because that also gives you some time to process,
Mm-hmm.
to really think through like your capability around this moment or the task, whatever it might be. Like, let's give some time to process. And in a society where everything is so urgent,
Right.
like you didn't answer my email yesterday. Like, well,
Right.
I just sent it, sis. Like, hold up. Like,
Yes.
it's important for us to reset and think about those moments of, all right, let me pause a little bit. When do you need the answer?
And if I could add something to that, I I really think it's important with that pause to help retrain other people, right? Because people are asking us to do things because they expect us to do it. Or in many of our cases, they know we'll do it because we're always showing up doing everything, right? So helping other people understand that, wait a minute, hold up. It's not going to be a right now. Again, unless this is an emergent situation, nothing needs to be responded in the moment. And then, that will help people understand that, wait, you got some boundaries, right? And it doesn't take a whole lot of words. It's yes, no, maybe. When do you need a response?
I love that.
Good.
Um, good. In other words, Kamika, please listen to what I have to say. I do overcommit. I know I overcommit, and part of that is I hate telling people no.
Yes. Yes.
Especially if there is some sort of possibility for me to either show up, do it,
Yes.
provide, resources, whatever that might look like.
Yeah.
And I know where that comes from. It's from my own issues around abandonment and trying to, feed the inner child that was not fed when I was a younger person.
And if I could add to that, because we all have our story of why we want to say yes, right? So one of the things that's kind of a thing now is it's called like pick me, right? Excuse me. So you scrolling on, said social media and it's like, oh, that's just a pick me. And the reason that, at first it seems a little funny, but to me, it's always seemed sad because I don't care who you are. We have all had a pick me time where we would just be like, my mom used to call when I was young, a little girl, she used to be like, oh, you just act like you so happy to be invited to the party. And yeah, I was happy to be invited to the party because they want me to be there, right? So if I'm over there giving everybody, a cup of juice, I happen to be the like servant at the party. It doesn't matter because I'm still at the party, right? So truth be told, we all have our insecurities. We all have our drives or motivators for showing up in ways that we show up that aren't always healthy for ourselves.
And if we were to kind of take that thorough line of pick me to what we're dealing with the loss of jobs, it's like, well, when you are let go or laid off, it's almost saying, I didn't pick you.
Right, right.
I didn't pick you. And it triggers some people in different ways.
Yes, and it's hurtful. I mean, look, let's face it, nobody wants to be laid off.
No.
And when I'm working with people, because primarily, I work with in the coaching part of the business, I work with people in higher ed, right? And I've been an administrator in higher ed, I've been a coach, I've been a program chair. So I've been on the side where we're looking at budgets, numbers, positions, right? And it's not easy when you know that that's a number, right? That number is a person. So when you talked earlier in the segment about the statistics around, you know, suicide, self-harm, mental health, depression around this time of year, yes, we can quote numbers, but I tend to stay away from those because each one of those is a person, right? So every job loss is a person. And when I had to, look at budgets for my departments and try to reconcile, it wasn't always easy because I knew at the end of the day, somebody wasn't going to get a full load. Somebody may not get their contract renewed. And this is somebody's life, livelihood, family. It's a whole thing that happens when someone is let go or laid off. And I don't want to say it's not personal, but sometimes it's not personal. Sometimes it is personal. Sometimes somebody's trying to get you up out of there.
Yeah.
So you need to read the room before that happens and get yourself up out of there. And I speak to that from my own experience because I know I stayed at least one position too long. I should have been gone, but I lost a bit of focus in that rather than thinking about me, I was thinking about, oh, I'm going to show them that, you know, I can change this. I can turn this around. I bring value. So me trying to demonstrate to them, number one, it didn't happen because I had somebody who was trying to sabotage me at every turn. And then number two, I was losing weight. I was losing hair. I was stressed. I was this, I was that. And it took someone who I really trusted, who took me out to lunch one day and said, look, Loren, you're not crazy. They're crazy. And you have a lot to offer. And if they don't want it, you take your toys and go somewhere else and play. And that just kind of was the, shake that I need. Because she then said, if you stay any longer, they're going to ruin your reputation.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, let me start packing my toys and getting up out of here. Because while I'm trying to help them, they're not trying to help me. And ruining my reputation would have eventually not only resulted probably in my job being lost, but my career being damaged. So we need to really be thinking about ourselves versus the company that we work for. Because the company, the organization, the business is not loyal to you because it is an entity. You are a human being and you think about loyalty, showing up and all of that. The company don't have no kind of nothing
At all.
at all. And so, as long as you keep that in mind and think about yourself and your career, and there's people will say, well, it's being selfish. Okay, and be that because it's your life, it's your career, it's your family. It's not the company's family. Whether you stay there till the day you retire or the day you go to the other side of the Chili Jordan, that place is still going to be there, or maybe not. Companies go under, but you have to be thinking about yourself all the time.
I think that's a word for Black women. I
Okay.
don't think that we think of ourselves enough. We don't put ourselves first. We already talked about the mass analogy, but I think that's probably a message for Black women who are still in their corporate jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a lot of fear right now.
Yes.
There's a lot of fear, and I want to like kind of acknowledge some of that fear. Like, how can you get past the fear where maybe you're staying in the job for too long, or you're going after roles that you know are beneath you? Like, how do we manage this fear that is, I think, really heavy right now?
Right. So I'm so glad you brought up fear, because in some areas, like in addiction, they have fear as an acronym, right? And some other areas too. And it's false evidence appearing real. And so and it can grip you, it can cripple you, it can paralyze you. And I think that it's important for us to realize that there is a point to which fear is healthy, and there's a point to which it is unhealthy. So I used to teach a course at the graduate level for risk and violence assessment. And as I mentioned to you before, I think that violence is being perpetrated upon us
Oh,
in
absolutely.
many ways. And
Absolutely.
so you want to be protective of your mind, right? So there's a book that's a bit dated now, by Gavin DeBecker, and it's called The Gift of Fear. So Gavin DeBecker was a specialist in securities and protections, and he had this book that he wrote full of stories, particularly with women who did not think about fear in a healthy way, right? For example, you're going into an elevator, and you got a couple of bags, and some stranger comes in. He's like, "Oh, let me help you with your bags," and you're like, you have that little. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But because you want to be polite, you're like, okay, somebody's trying to help me. Then they take the bags, to the door. And then 3 days later, they found you gagged and bound and violated. So the point of that, which does happen, is to always be mindful of the thing in you where you're like, this is dangerous, right? So that is a gift of fear. However, because we are constantly being bombarded, if you will, with, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen today. Am I going to lose my job? Is the company going to fold? Is the nation gonna go under? Blah blah. Blah. Then we are now hyper vigilant. So we think everything is a threat, which it's not, right? There are some real threats out there, right? The person who's getting ready to run you off the road, you need to go into survival mode. But then some of this other stuff is really just noise. And so we unfortunately live in a culture of fear, and people profit off of that.
Absolutely.
So the more fearful you are, then the more you're going to spend on stuff that is irrelevant. An extreme example was some years ago, where some of us may not even be old enough to remember it, but there was like these African bees are coming to get us, right? It's like, oh my God. And so all you saw in the news was African bees are coming and showing these swarms. I think there might have been one, maybe, or maybe not, who knows, right? But people were buying these full on suits. They were spraying their yards with these pesticides, and it was just a bunch of nonsense. But people spent a lot of money to protect themselves from this threat. And I think now we're not dealing with African bees, but there's other things that we're dealing with. So the more you spend your resources, whether it's time or money,
Our energy.
right, exactly. Energy focused on the thing that you're fearful of, the less time you're spending finding joy,
Yeah.
right? And so some years ago, I tapped out of the news, right? I was like, I can't take it anymore. I was already on a way out anyway, because it was just the same old thing over and over again. Like, but we grew up with the TV on, and
Yeah.
our families, our grandparents and parents watching the news. Now it's just a bunch of nonsense, right? It is, if it leads, it bleeds. If it bleeds, it leads.
Yep.
if it is, you are hard pressed to find some human interest story, right? That is telling you about something good that happened. So if it's tragic, I don't need to hear about it. I in my private practice, we got enough real life stuff going on, right? So why do I need to spend my time turned into a show that's telling me about how bad it is? The other thing about fear is it makes you concentrate on this one little thing right here when there's a whole big old world going on.
Absolutely.
A whole big old world. So, do you think that one little thing is impacting the whole big old world that's going on right now? No, it's not. So, shifting away from the grips, it's almost like fear will grip you
It
like
will.
a horror movie, right? How do you get out of the clutches of fear? It is really a one step at a time. And so the strategy for that is 5 minutes a day, focus on something positive. I These are some strategies that I also help my clients that are dealing with depression. Like, when you are clinically depressed, it is very difficult to get out of that spiral. So you probably need some medication, right? But medication alone isn't going to solve all your problems. You have to do some cognitive reframing. So the way in which you can cognitive reframe is, I just want you one thing a day to be grateful for right before you go to bed. So the reason that you're like, well, Dr. Hill, why is it right before you go to bed?
I'm never going to call you Dr. Hill, by the way, but go
Okay,
ahead.
well, that
It's always going to be Loren to
y'all
me.
see me looking in this camera.
But go ahead.
Yes.
Why before bed, Loren?
Because that was my client, my patient would call me
Okay,
Dr.
I'm
Hill.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Right? Yes. No. Oh gosh. Which is why I love you. So, right before you go to bed, because as you're going to sleep, your brain is still thinking about the day, but you want to end the day on a positive note. Whatever you go to sleep with, your brain is really going to dig into. Another thing is, if we weren't dealing with depression, if you had a problem you were trying to solve, you write it down before you go to bed, because then it gets into your brain. Your brain is thinking about how to solve this problem as you're resting, and it will come up with a solution. So I want you to think about something positive, and you're like, well, what is there? I mean, I'm not working.
It's the
It's
holidays.
the holidays. My car is getting repossessed. You still breathing. You still here. Now, some might say, well, it would be better if I weren't here. And that is when you really need to reach out for help, because that is not a solution. People want you here,
Yeah.
even in the roughest time possible. People want you here, and you're here for a reason. And it's not for you to end it all today. And I know that that might sound like, oh, but really, I can't stress it enough. People will be devastated when you're not here. And then the other thing that will happen is those who survive you will start to blame themselves and feel guilty. Like, why didn't I see the signs? Why didn't she come to me? What could I have done? And I have heard this from, surviving members of loved ones who've lost somebody. Like, I would have, if I would have only known, or, you know, I just saw her yesterday. She looked fine. So those are things that we really want to be careful about, and we want to make sure that you're reaching out and not going back into that isolation.
So I think where the challenge is, especially since we're talking about the holidays, is how do we ask? How do we take the mask off? How do we really honestly respond? Because when I isolated, and I think back a lot about that, because there was a group chat going on. I can't even remember what app. Marco Polo. I'm like, I know it was called Marco Polo. And with Marco Polo, for those who aren't aware, you send video messages. And, you respond in video messages and et cetera, et cetera. And I couldn't participate because I couldn't put on a fake face on the video messages. I knew that if my friends saw me, they would know something's not right and we need to come over. We need to love on her. We need to do all that up. So I guess where I struggle, and I think where a lot of people struggle, is how do you ask for help during this time? How do we take off the mask? How do we stop fronting and being honest without it sounding, I don't even want to say too extreme, but I think that Black women specifically are concerned about, I don't want people like thinking, something's wrong, or I'm doing too much, or I'm hurting,
Being
or
extra
yeah, we're being
dramatic.
extra
Right.
dramatic. Like how should we as Black women approach it?
So this is where it becomes relational, right? Because it's not on the person who's hurting to be the one to reach out all the time. They hurting. They can barely get out of bed. So how they gonna call you and tell you I'm hurting? So this is why being attuned to your group, right? Like who's in your group? Like, wait, Kamika, she got something to say every day. But we have not heard from Kamika in like 5 days. So what's going on? And if somebody in the group isn't, because everybody's busy. Let's just say that.
Absolutely.
Whatever you're doing, we're all grown-ups. We got grown-up issues, right? But somebody's going to say at some point, y'all heard from Kamika? And then somebody else will be like, oh, yeah, she told me she was, she always getting on a plane, going on vacation somewhere. But
not first class anymore. Okay.
Okay.
It's okay. I'm processing through my financial limitations right now, y'all. Especially during the holidays. I don't have it like I used to.
How we gonna go from not first class anymore, but you still getting on the plane, right? So
Absolutely.
Somebody in the group is like, well, yeah, she's going on vacation. She's good, right? Somebody else would be like, well, nah, she got back 3 days ago. We haven't heard from her. So that's where your group comes in. If you have a group,
your community,
but maybe you have one friend that you that knows you, right? And it's like, I'm not even gonna get it. I'm going over there, right? Because this is not making any sense. You gonna open this door because you hear me out here knocking. I see your car, right? So that is where we have to take some ownership as being a friend, right? Black women will say Black women. Not Black women save ourselves by ourselves, because you cannot do it. We are a village, and as a collectivist society, we are over here in the individualistic society, and it ain't a good match.
Ooh, because I always say that internal to ourselves, in our DNA,
that's right,
we are meant to be communal.
We are.
We were never meant to function in a society, not. Especially a capitalistic, hyper-capitalistic society that is like driven by individualism, which is why we're not thriving in it.
Well, and yes, and we're women, and females of every species work together for the good of the whole. So now, back to how we deal with this is you don't deal with it by yourself. We have to check on each other. And I really love some of the messages that are coming across social media these days about check on your friend, right?
Check on your strong friend.
Check on any of them, strong, weak, whoever, right? Because it can be the quiet ones that slip away because they've always been quiet and nobody checks on them. It can be the strong one who's always showing up, and then your back is broke, and not in a good way.
She said it, I didn't. get your back broke this season, ladies. Go ahead.
Please, and thank you for all of us. Come on, Santa.
I mean, okay, back to checking on ourselves, our friends, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And I would say it needs to be active check-in.
Yes. And again, so to the theme of this podcast, well, two themes, I would say dual. One, someone has lost their job, right? We need to check in on you regularly. Hey, how you doing? What you doing? A friend of mine, some years ago, had lost her position, and she called me. I think I called her and was like, "Hey, girl, what you doing? Just checking in." Nothing, she hadn't given any indication that she was struggling, right? And so she said, "Oh, I'm not now. Let me just say, every time this woman stepped out the door, she was okay to the hair, makeup, heels, all that." She said, "Oh, girl, I'm not going to get my hair done today." I was like, "Wait, what?" I said, "I'm on my way."
Because that's something.
Because that was a something.
Mm-hmm.
And so before she could hang up the phone, I was knocking on her door, and I was like, "What you mean you're not going to get your hair done? You have a standing appointment." She was like, "I don't have it." I said, "Oh, call her. You going to get your hair done? I'm gonna watch your son. Go on in there and put that lipstick on and go get that hair done." And to this day, she will tell people, "Loren," and I will get emotional about this because the way she tells the story, she's like, "Loren knew me so well that when I said I wasn't getting my hair done, she knew that I was coming to the edge." And to me, it was just a thing where I was like, "Girl, that's who you are.
Yeah.
You don't step out, look like that." Some people might go, "Oh, that's shallow." No, that's who she was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So knowing who your people are and knowing what the indicators are, something small, right? But then it could be something big, but everybody is different. So you have to be dialed into your people. And the other thing about it is connection feels good.
It does.
Particularly when it's genuine and authentic, right? Now, you had mentioned us not wanting to like be seen as doing the most or being extra or being dramatic. And I think for me, I'm very selective about who I let in.
Very.
Yeah, okay. For good reason. Because I know my bandwidth and I know my emotional resources. So if I let you in, that means you are in. You are locked in. You about to get some like you ain't probably never got it before, right? Like, look, I will level you up if you in my circle. And I don't
It's
know
true, y'all. It's true. It's true. It's true. Yes.
And so everybody can't be leveled up. That part.
And you don't have the capacity to level up everybody.
I might, but
excuse me.
But the thing about it is we have to be mindful about our yeses, our maybes, our nos, and whatever our resources are. So whether those are financial resources, emotional resources, everybody can't have that 2-hour phone call. They just can't. And I can't get to know everybody in that way, right? And it's not my job to do it. So that's another piece of my journey and development was understanding my own capacity to provide care, love, help, because I'm a helper. Right. Not only have I gone into a field of behavioral health and help, that's who I am by nature. I'm a helper, I'm a giver, and it's not always easy for me to receive because I just want to give. And that yes, no, maybe really came from me learning how to do that myself. So the tips and strategies and advice that I give, yes, I'm trained as a clinical psychologist, but I also am a human being. I'm a Black woman who has had experiences where I've had to go to therapy my doggone self and have my therapist read me. Like, girl, what? What? What are
You're
you
reading
talking
me?
about? What are you talking about?
Mm.
So getting help, right? So there's the community, there's your tribe, there's your group, but there's also professional help.
Yeah.
And I feel like, one of the things that you mentioned about, like, how do we go to people and not have them think that we're just doing the most, right? Well, seek professional help, because there's if you get a good, not every match is a good match with a professional. I don't Whether it's your therapist or your OB, like, you can change doctors.
You can change
let me give
doctors.
you let me give you the prescription. You can change doctors. You don't have to stay with the
No.
same one. You should be trying different ones out. But the point that I'm making beyond that is, a lot of times we don't want people to see that we're struggling, right? Our friends, because we're keeping up a face or we have a mask. But you can go to your therapist, your psychologist, and you could let it all out, right? And they're going to sit there and help you figure it out. And sometimes you just need to go sit on your therapist's couch and cry.
Yes. I've cried a lot on my therapist's couch, who I see every week. Shout out to you, Allie.
And then she gonna tell you, stop crying, go do something. But anyway, yeah.
We'll talk. We're gonna wrap this up, because I will share that when I lost my job, Loren was one in our group, was one of the first people who I shared, and calls came through immediately, and they wind up being with me very shortly after that, and they gave me space to process. And when I was rolling around on the ground for 60 days, thinking I'm never going to get a job, never going to figure this out, they let me roll around for a minute, and they got my ass up eventually. Okay. Loren was like, what are you doing? We're going to the movies, because we love the movies.
Yeah.
Like, I have a really great circle, and I'm really blessed to have wonderful Black women in my life. And I think where I want us to really kind of end on this note is on the power of community, and how community can save us, especially during this holiday season. So, any closing words or thoughts, Loren?
Yes. So this has been such a joy and pleasure. And I am so happy to see you radiate in your gift, right? You are truly a gift. And I think that we all have gifts. And as Black women, the being able to have the space to exercise your gifts or pour out your gifts is what we all thrive for. And so my hope for all of you, your audience, and who's listening to this far and wide, is that you would be able to spend some time reflecting. Just get quiet, reflect, and see who you can connect to, because connection is going to carry you through.
I love it. Where can the people find you?
Oh, they can find me all over. You can
Here you go.
So you can, yes. So seriously though, you can Google me, Loren M. Hill, PhD. You can go to my website, theacclivity.com. You can listen to my podcast, The Strategist is In. You can find my YouTube channel. Just put my name in and you'll find me.
Awesome. Thanks, Loren.
Thanks, Kanika.
Oh, I love this.
I do too.
All right, y'all, let's wrap up this episode with this week's SAVE strategy. And I'm going to flip the A from amplify to acknowledge. When it comes to mental health, especially during the holidays and seasons of loss, the most powerful step we can take is simply naming what it is. Acknowledge the sadness, acknowledge the anxiety, acknowledge the pressure of not being able to give the way you want to. Pretending does not heal us. Honesty does. When I lost my job and isolated myself, like I shared, part of the failure was that I didn't acknowledge my pain to anyone. I thought silence would protect me, but it only made me feel more alone. So this week, I want you to practice acknowledging. Write down one thing you're feeling, no filter, no judgment. Say it out loud if you can. I want you to take Loren's advice of writing down the things you're also grateful for. We're writing this week, okay? Because when we acknowledge the truth, we open the door to connection, healing, and forward movement. And that is this week's SAVE strategy. As always, like, subscribe, follow Black Women Will Save Black Women wherever you get your podcasts. Follow Black Women Will Save Black Women on Instagram, YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, Kamika T. Dillard. My TikTok is Miss KT Dillard. Support, amplify, validate, elevate. That's how we save each other. And never forget that Black women will save Black women. I'm your host, Kamika Dillard. Thank you.